right, welcome to today's episode of Tomorrow's Leader, where we dive deep on all things leader related to leading yourself and leading others. I'm John Laurito, your host. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a dreaded thing for a leader, and I've been there many times with this. It's that moment when somebody walks into your office, or they call you, or they text you, or they email you and say, "Hey, I've got to talk about something. Hey, do you have a minute?" And you know it's not going to be good. And in some cases, they have something in their hand, a sheet of paper, a letter, and you know it's coming, and it's a resignation. Now, there are some times where that resignation might be welcome. I'll be honest, but there are many times where that is the most painful thing for a leader to hear when you have a great person that is resigning and leaving your organization. So today I want to talk about what are the signs, because there are signs. Every time I've lost somebody, even the ones that I said, you know what, this came out of left field. I looked back and I said, you know what? No, there were signs. I just didn't see them, or I didn't pay attention to them, and I didn't look closely enough, or maybe I did, but I just subconsciously turned a blind eye to it. I just ignored it. But when I thought back, I'm like, there were signs. So I want to share those with you. What are the signs? What are 5 signs that somebody is about to leave your organization? Because very rarely do one of these signs, if not many of them, show up. Okay, if you look closely and you pay attention. So let's talk about these. And then in the next episode, yes, I'm going to do this as a 2-parter. So this is going to be part 1. It's going to be a little teaser, because part 2, I'm going to tell you what to do about it. How do you save that person? How do you get that person to stay with you that you don't want to lose? So let's talk about the 5 things. And these are in no particular order by any means. But let me start off with really just the basic premise that anything, and then I'll go into some specifics, but here's reason number 1. Their patterns change. Now, that's a broad statement, but I mean just any kind of pattern or something. People don't just randomly change their patterns of how they do things. Something triggers that. It could be an emotional state, could be a decision they're making, could be something they're wrestling with, could be some stimulus from the outside, whatever. Something is changing their pattern, could be health related, whatever. But there's a reason why people start to do things differently. And when I say pattern, it's anything. It's their routine. It's how they are acting. It's how they respond to certain situations. It's how they communicate. Literally, it's anything. That's a pattern. We all have patterns of how we do every single part of our life. And we become predictable to an extent. You know, your personality doesn't change overnight. The way you handle situations doesn't change overnight. These are all patterns of how we deal with people and how we deal with situations. So as a leader, if I see anything that's a change in a pattern, that's a red flag. Something is going on. It could be that this person is just having a bad day. It could be something bigger than that, something personal that's going on. It could be that they're the topic of this podcast, and that they're thinking or they're close to making a decision to leave your organization. This would cause a change in their patterns. Okay, that's number 1. Anything that you see that changes. Could be what time they come in. It could be how they deal with you, communicate, whatever it is, their attitude, something is different. Now, let me go through some specific examples. These are things that I have seen with many people. So this is number 2. Number 2 is that they stop asking questions. Okay, so anytime somebody in your organization, and I'll just say their participation and they're seeking to understand certain things, and that's always a part of somebody who's successful. They've got an inquisitive mind. They're trying to understand things. They're asking questions about, hey, what if we do this? What if we do that? They're throwing out ideas. If they stop doing that or do that significantly less, that's a sign that somebody's leaving. I remember somebody that I had who was excellent. This was a leader that was underneath me for a period of time. And they were very inquisitive, like would ask question. And then one day I noticed that they stopped. It was almost like they either figured everything out or they just lost interest, one or the other. And I know they didn't figure it out. something's going on and it wasn't positive. Thankfully, I was able to dive in and had a conversation with that person. I said, hey, is something going on? Is everything okay? I mean, you don't even have to be masterful at how you say it, but just if you check in on that person and say, hey, I got to be honest, I've noticed something. I've noticed a change. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I feel like there's something going on. Am I totally off base, or is that correct? Is there something that we need to talk about? I'm here to help. I care about you. Is there something that I can help with? More times than not, that person will open up. It's hard for them sometimes to initiate that, but if you go to them, that's an open door, and a lot of times you'll get that person talking, and you may have to do that more than once. But that's reason number 2. They stop asking questions. They stop having that curious mind. That's number 2. Number 3 is they stop contributing in meetings overall. So when you have team meetings and group meetings, you can kind of tell they're disengaging. I saw this recently with somebody who ultimately did leave their organization, where this person just kind of was always very interactive, very much contributor in a meeting, and then all of a sudden this person stopped. And sure enough, they were in the process of making a decision to move to a different organization. So that is sign number 3. Sign number 4 is that they're not quite as available to you anymore. So, for example, I've seen this before where they might cancel a one-on-one. Now, again, every once in a while that's going to happen, but that would always just prompt something in my mind that, okay, something's going on. Maybe it's a conflict, maybe it's something, but if they're doing it repeatedly and they've not been doing that, again, this goes back to the pattern, but if they're missing meetings or rescheduling meetings or just canceling meetings and they're not available to me, so if I'm trying to get a hold of them or I'm trying to schedule some time with them and it's a little harder than it normally would be, and it's not due to work circumstances that would justify that, that to me is a red flag that something is happening, that something's happening. So that is number 4. Number 5 is they also stop being combative and challenging, and they stop being having conflict with you. So I think that's very healthy for somebody in your organization, especially an A player, to push back, to really challenge, to look at things from a different angle, to really kind of pull things apart and play devil's advocate. I mean, that's a really valuable person on your team. When they stop doing that, that's a sign that they're thinking about leaving. Okay, they just don't care anymore. That's really what's going on in their mind. You know what? I'm not going to be here. I'm looking. I'm going elsewhere. I've already got an offer. I don't even care anymore. I'm not going to challenge them. I'm not going to push back. That's a dangerous sign, right? Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. Patterns, that encompasses anything. It could be somebody that is usually, in the office or working every single day, and all of a sudden they're taking a lot of time off. Now, granted, I'm a big believer. You got to recharge the battery, take time off. But if it's not something that, again, if your gut tells you something's off, maybe it wasn't really planned, it was sudden, that could be something. It could be nothing. But it also could be something, and it might be worth at least keeping an eye on. Now your radar is up. Now you're looking, and you're just kind of open to seeing if there's some other signs or patterns that might indicate, okay, this person is on a different path than they were before mentally. So let me have a conversation with them. And again, the easiest thing in the world you can do is just have a conversation and ask somebody. If you're wrong, you're wrong, but they're still going to appreciate you asking. That's a great thing. So if I said to somebody, hey, you know what? I could be way off base on this, but I've noticed a few things that make me concerned. Okay, and make me just want to ask if everything's okay. I noticed that you really were very quiet in the last couple of leadership meetings we had. You're normally really participative, and you've been very quiet. Is there something that's going on? It makes me think that there is, and obviously I want to ask, and if there is, I'd love to talk about it. So what's on your mind? They'll tell you. I mean, again, if there's nothing, hey, just had a bad day, whatever, this and that, they're still going to appreciate you having the conversation and you asking. Okay, it just shows that you care. Okay, so those are 5 signs that somebody could be leaving. We're going to talk in the next episode about how to change that course, how to keep them. You're not going to win that every time, but sometimes if you do the right things, take the right steps, you will be able to keep your A players. I've done it many, many times, and I'll share with you how. Okay, so tune into the next episode. It will be coming on in the next day or 2 days. It'll be coming out, so stay tuned. Or it's already out. Who knows? I don't know when you're listening to this. As always, like, subscribe, share, and go down below, give a 5-star review, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.